The corridor of Belhaven Interstellar Academy smelled faintly of citrus scrub gel and ozone from the hoverlockers. Every morning it was the same, a circle of snickering students, a trembling figure at the center, and a wheelchair hovering just out of reach, spinning lazily in the air. The girl was named Orion, a Xerillian exchange student whose crystalline bones could not bear Earth's gravity without assistance. Her wheelchair was not a luxury. It was life support, and every day the bullies took it. They called it a game. Orion never protested, never raised her shimmering voice. Xerillians believed in harmony and turning violence aside with silence. Her eyes, three of them, arranged like a triangle of trapped starlight only, dimmed as she stared up at her stolen chair reflecting the ceiling lights. On this particular morning, the ringleader, Jessa Monroe, leaned against a locker and tossed a gravity puck like a coin. "Come on, starfish. Jump for it," she said, smirking. Her friends laughed, their voices sharp and cold. A small crowd gathered. Most watched. None acted. Except Evan Torres. Evan had a reputation for being quiet. Not smart quiet, nor brooding quiet. Just the kind of quiet that came from having nothing to prove and no one to impress. He wasn't big for his age, wasn't popular, and wasn't special. But he noticed things. And he had noticed Orion alone every lunch, silent in group assignments, moving through the halls like someone expecting a blow. Today, he stepped through the circle. "Give it back," he said simply. Jessa raised an eyebrow. "Oh, the mute earthling speaks." "I'm not mute," Evan replied. He held out a hand. "Her chair." Jessa shrugged and flicked her wrist. The chair drifted higher. "If she wants it, she can levitate herself." A few kids laughed. A few looked at Evan with pity. One whispered, "Dude, just walk away." Not worth it. But Evan didn't walk away. He didn't think. Something hot and fierce rose in his chest. Something that felt older than courage and heavier than justice. He walked to Orion, crouched down, and said softly, "Can I pick you up?" She blinked all three eyes in confusion, then nodded. He lifted her carefully. She was feather-light, but her body radiated a trembling warmth like holding a small furnace wrapped in silk. The crowd gasped. Even Jessa froze, and then Evan carried Orion to class. The story should have ended there. A sweet, heroic moment, the kind that spreads on social feeds and fades after a week. But that morning became the beginning of something none of them expected. From that day forward, the bullies escalated. They hid Orion's chair, locked it in bathrooms, tossed it onto balconies, even dismantled it once. Every time, Evan found her stranded outside her classroom, her legs folded underneath her like fragile glass. Every time he carried her. At first, the other students stared. Then they whispered. By the end of the week, the whispers turned into a quiet respect. Evan Torres, the nobody boy, had done something extraordinary, not because he was strong, but because he refused to pretend he didn't see cruelty, and Orion began to change too. She used to keep her gaze down. Now she raised her eyes to meet others. She used to sit alone at lunch. Now she sat across from Evan, studying his face with gentle fascination. "Humans are strange," she said one day, her voice musical and soft. "Your species wages war against itself, yet you carry others without being asked." Evan shrugged. "I just didn't like what they were doing." "Many do not like things," she said. "Few act." The chair was eventually repaired, but the harassment didn't stop. One afternoon, Evan found Orion cornered behind the science wing. Her wheelchair had been overturned, its parts scattered like bones. Three boys stood over her. Something snapped in him then. "Not rage, resolve. Enough," he said. He stepped between Orion and the boys. They were taller, heavier, and absolutely certain of their own invincibility. Until they saw Evan's eyes. Something about the way he stood, calm, steady, refusing to yield, made them hesitate. Not because he frightened them physically, but because he wasn't playing their game anymore. One by one they backed away. Evan turned, knelt beside Orion, and helped her upright. Her eyes shimmered with more than light. "Your species," she whispered, "is feared across the galaxy for your wars. But they forget this part. This kindness. This fire." Evan tried not to blush. "I'm not fire." You are, she said with certainty. Humanity is, we have a word for it in my language. Salvarai. It means the heart that chooses defiance. The next morning, the school counselor summoned them both. The bullies had been reported not by Evan, but by the students who had watched everything. A wave had begun to form, slow but unstoppable. Compassion, once ignited, spreads, but something else happened that day. Rylan arrived in a new wheelchair sleek, silver, reinforced with adaptive gravity stabilizers. A small plaque on the side read, "Property of Belhaven Academy." For student Rylan, provided with pride, the principal himself delivered it, apologizing for the school's failure to protect her. The bullies were removed from her classes. Security drones patrolled the halls. Things were changing, but Rylan refused the chair, not entirely only in the mornings. She found Evan waiting at the entrance, backpack slung over one shoulder. Without a word, she lifted her arms. Evan laughed. "You want me to carry you?" "Yes," she said. "Not because I must, because you did so when I had no choice. And to his Aurelian, bonds forged in hardship are sacred." He lifted her again, this time without fear of stares or whispers. They walked past rows of students who stepped aside respectfully. Some smiled. A few nodded. Humanity had always been feared across the stars. But in that hallway on that morning, something else spread, an idea older than starfaring and stronger than war, that perhaps humans were dangerous not because they destroyed, but because they cared. And as Evan carried the alien girl to class, her arms looped trustingly around his shoulders. One truth echoed silently through the Academy. One Rylan would later repeat to ambassadors and fleet captains across the galaxy: humans fight. Humans break. Humans burn. But when they choose to protect someone, there's no force in the universe more terrifying or more beautiful.